Hello, welcome to Studio Snack. I'm Lydia Thornley. I'm a designer, creative director and sketcher.
And I'm Narciso Bleda, graphic troublemaker.
Biscuit. It's a good word.
And not just because we love biscuits.
In our first podcast, we talk about the French biscuit, twice cooked. And that has its roots in a Roman rusk. It's not easy to say that. Panis biscottus, which was bread twice cooked, handy for travellers and soldiers. The word biscuit appeared in English in the 14th century. Twice-baked biscuits were still just about popular, though other types were coming in by that time. But the Roman biscuit survived in the form of ship's biscuits. They were solid and dry to keep for long periods, and you couldn't eat them as they were. You had to soak them in liquid or wait until they'd gone off and the weevils were having a go, or both even. And they were so tough that sailors used them as postcards.
Amazing.
Which brings us neatly on to graphics.
And craft.
Indeed.
Now that we work with software though, how do we explain craft?
It was a lot easier when we did things by hand. There were tools, physical things. You could see straight away that there were things that you needed to learn how to use. I have things at home that were my dad's, and these were still around when I started working. There are French curves, which are wonderful wooden tools that look like curlicues. They look like things that you would carve, and you would use them to match curves that you were drawing. And my dad's set still has his pencil marks on them. And you would have a ruling pen to draw lines, and you test them on your fingers before you do it. So I used to walk into the supermarket with stripes across my fingers and get funny looks. And I brought along my own precision rule. Tools used to have their own sound back in the day, and this is a completely redundant piece of equipment. We used to use it to measure the thickness of rules on things, to measure the line spacing on type, the size of type, and of course now a file tells you that. But Narcis, you trained when digital was already the norm. How did you learn your craft?
So actually we did had a lot of digital tools then, but we did had a few subjects where we actually had to cut letters and put them together and make sure that the spacing was right. And then we also had like some drawing and painting subjects as well. But we had a lot of subjects with we were using the programs like Photoshop or freehand by then. And some of the tools we've never heard after we've learned them as well, because the tools have changed a bit. But I think you learn programs as a tool instead, as opposed to something that you use for designing.
Well, exactly, and programming and coding are a craft in their own right. A newspaper graphics illustrator friend of mine started with physical media and has very recently been taught to code, and the way he uses it, that feels like a craft in itself. But all of this made us want to make something.
It's time for an experiment.
Oh yes. So I baked some ship's biscuits. Mine were a combination of 3 recipes, 1 from the National Maritime Museum and 2 from the States. And just listen how hard this is. And then I got some rice paper to write on, and figuring that you couldn't post these things anymore, I made my own stamp. Then, in the interests of Studio Snack podcast research rigor, I hand-delivered mine to you on foot on a walk that included a bit of Roman road. But you posted yours, didn't you?
I did post mine twice. One was hand-delivered.
I got that one.
And the other one, maybe the postman got a little bit peckish because he never made it to your door.
Yeah, he might have had to go to the dentist after that one.
Anyway, so we have a biscuit.
I think we need a biscotto.
A biscotto.
Oh, we've got another rustly bit of packaging here. But interestingly, these are also twice cooked. They're also very sturdily packaged.
Can we open it?
I'm trying to open this thing.
Brute force.
Brute force. And they are designed for dunking. So into the iced coffee they go, because it's a very hot day when we're recording these. Of course, if we were doing this correctly, we'd have Vincento, but it's a bit early for that.
Great crunch.
Very good crunch. Join us next month for another studio snack.
See you then.